I'm here with the man Miles Killebrew, getting ready for his 8th year in the NFL, 3rd year with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I want to welcome everybody back to the Heiden and Level Up Leadership podcast, where every time we jump on here, we're leveling up in our leadership. Leaders are always growing in some capacity. I'm grateful to have my guy Miles here in the studio today.
Yes, sir. Grateful to be here.
Getting ready for this next season. We got a chance to get up with you, man, and talk some leadership in life. How you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling great. A little drained, just got out of Pilates with the wife.
Pilates.
Man. And
level up in the Pilates,
leveling up, man. Just trying to do everything. But I'm going to be drinking this water this whole time. Don't mind that. But I'm glad to be here. I'm excited.
Man, we honor you, man. Thanks for jumping on with us today. And
thank you.
One thing I always ask those who join in on the podcast is just tell us just one way that you're leveling up in your leadership in this season of life.
Well, in this season specifically, I was placed into a significant leadership role last year with the Steelers. Players voted me special teams captain, which was an honor.
Yeah.
And
you got to see, man.
I got to see, and that was an exciting thing for me. I love that, especially because it is player voted. And so in this season, I want to carry that weight on my shoulders of pouring into these men, not only on the field but spiritually as well.
Yeah.
I take a lot of pride in my walk with Christ, and one part of that walk is that I bear fruit.
So good.
And so, when you preach about spreading seeds and pouring into other people, pouring my cup out, that's something I want to be intentional about this season.
Amazing. Yeah, man. I mean, God's always doing more, right? Like people just see oftentimes what's on TV or the football game or looking at the box score, the stats. Well, God's doing more. He's doing stuff in the locker room. He's doing stuff on the bus and the plane, the pregame, and so I love how you're thinking like, God, do more in me, and do more through me in this season. And I love that. That's a leadership mentality, is God, do more, so I love how you're thinking about that in this season. And I think what's dope about your story that I've followed, being a Las Vegas native,
sure,
and going to Foothill High School, being an athlete, but not quite sure how far this football will take you. Your story is totally a story of endurance. It's a story of, I think we were talking earlier about phases, right? Like, just talk to us about some of the phases of life that the Lord has taken you through. Each journey, has had its own grace, its own like teachable lesson. Like if someone dropped you into Foothill, there was a lesson. Someone dropped you in Southern Utah, it was a different lesson. Someone dropped you into Detroit, so like just talk to us about the phases.
Well, first of all, anything that you can experience in the sports world besides a championship, NFL Super Bowl ring,
come on,
I've experienced.
Yes.
Right. And that means I've had coaches who liked me. I've had coaches who despised me. I've had the barriers of injury. I've had the barriers of, having so much on my plate outside of football and having to maintain my composure on the field. Whatever it is, been at the high, been at the low end of the bench, to the star player at SMU.
Right. Come on.
And one thing I've come to realize is that this game is a game of attrition. And a lot of guys they take themselves out before they even have a chance to keep going.
Real quick, sorry to interject.
No, sure.
Define that word, attrition.
Well, in the game of football,
yeah,
it's literally, like Darwinism. It's the strong will survive. Like the people will fall out eventually.
Gotcha.
Whatever it is, whether it's injury, whether it's there's a lot of factors.
Yeah, it's remaining.
It's just remaining.
Yeah.
Just stay steadfast. And you can't. The funny thing is you can't do it by yourself.
Yeah,
it's impossible.
For sure.
So I've had phases in my life where I'm leaning on myself. I'm leaning on my friends. I'm leaning on God.
Right.
I'm leaning on. I think I'm leaning on God, and I know I'm leaning on God. Like I've been in different phases of that, and so I'm at a point now where I have a family, and I'm grateful. I've now realized when God says, "A man who finds a wife finds favor in the Lord," and it's just been so much easier with a wife now.
Come on.
And so I'm just like at a point now where now I'm like we said, I'm just trying to pour out into the other guys who maybe are trying to find their way.
So good. Yeah, Proverbs 18. It's one of my favorite verses. He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. And shout out to Kayla Killebrew.
Man, holding it down.
An awesome mom of currently 2 baby girls.
That's right.
Growing. Then 1 on the way. Come on.
No doubt.
Miles, you're a hashtag girl dad.
Girl dad all the way.
All the way.
Through and through.
Come on. So good just to be reminded to be lifting her up, coming into this season and baby girl on the way. I think that there's something about the phrase that was coming to me is just outlasting, right? Like outlasting, whether it's teammates, not in a negative way, but just like I got to stay the course. Because when it comes to leadership, you're like, I'm only as good of a leader as I have influence. Like if I'm not there to be an influencer on the team, then I don't have the same, pedigree of leadership that I could if I was in the building, in the room. And so I love that's what you're saying is like, man, I've had to learn how to just last. Yes,
and I learned from Coach Tomlin.
Okay.
How to be a leader amongst leaders.
Good.
Which is a very unique thing. And it's very simple. You have to be the same every day. You have to be consistent. Like I've learned that one thing in the NFL is, with these alpha males, it almost doesn't matter if you are a good coach or if you always know what you're talking about. But if you present yourself with the same respect and the same, even if it's just the desire to get better every single day, like guys will respect that. Like you can be a total douche, you can just be such a jerk. But if you're always a jerk and you're a jerk to everybody, it's respected.
At least you're consistent.
Because at least you're consistent. I may not like you, but I respect you.
No doubt.
And that is the entry to get, to be able to lead men is they have to respect you.
Okay, so let's talk about Miles Killebrew for a second. Sure. What have you consistently done when it's okay, hey, here's Miles, here's what you're gonna get with Miles for the past 8 seasons. What have you left as consistent for you?
I was grateful. I am truly blessed to have had a good mentor early on in the league. Don Carey was my locker mate. It wasn't an accident, right? God knew what he was doing.
Powerful.
And I made it a point that I'm going to be reading my Bible in my locker. I'm going to be at the Bible studies. I'm going to be I'll even teach a couple if that's what, and that's where I'm at now, where I'm, PK, Pastor Kent, he's allowing me to teach some.
That's amazing.
At least to lead them, right?
Yeah.
Like I didn't go to seminary, but I at least can lead them.
Well, here's what you're saying. You're saying I'm leveling up.
I'm leveling up.
I once was locker mate. Now I'm attending.
Yes.
Now I'm leading.
And now I'm praying for guys. And so I want them to know that, hey, this guy has a relationship with Jesus. Yeah. And it's been going on. I've had players come up to me that I have not spoken to ever before. And for some reason they felt led to say, hey, like, how do I get close to God? This just happened.
Wow.
To a player. I don't want to say his name, but
he
comes to me and he's just like, hey, he's joking with me. I'm like, man, you never talk to me. And he's like, well, I'm trying to turn over a new leaf. I'm trying to be more proactive and be happy and, be a friendlier guy.
So good.
And he didn't know what to say. And I was just like, I was watching him. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And he said, I noticed how do I get a relationship with God?
Wow.
Out of nowhere. And I stopped smiling. I take it serious. And I'm like, hey, amazing. Dude, like, long story short, we end up praying. I take him to the side. We're praying. And he was like, I don't even know why I said that to you. But, God is intentional. And he noticed that I'm doing something.
Yeah.
And he felt comfortable to say it. And so I just love it, dude. I love that. I love that. I want people to associate me with at least, not perfection, but, I'm at least trying to be around God's presence.
Yeah. So what I hear you saying is, when it comes to attrition, when it comes to consistency, what people are going to know about Miles is that dude's pursuing the Lord. He doesn't got it all together. He's not perfect by any means, but that dude loves the Lord and he's going after him. And if you want to know him, he can introduce you. That's dope, bro. I mean, hopefully everybody, I want that. I want that consistency of just like, hey, that guy's leveling up in his relationship with God. He doesn't feel like he has it all. You ever meet some of those people? They're like, oh, I know God. Like, I don't need to like read my Bible. I already did that.
Yeah,
it's like,
I
whoa.
was that guy. I used to be that guy. Like, oh, I'm Christian. I'm saved. No one can take it from me. Saved by grace. I'm good. And that's a scary place to be.
Well, it's good to be confident in our identity in Christ, but not in a prideful way where we stop knowing Him. Right? Like, it's like, that's why I love that concept, relationship over religion, because it seems like the Pharisees, who were like the religious elite, were so religious they didn't recognize Jesus. Like, oh yeah, we got it all figured out. We're doing this whole checklist, and Jesus is like, no, I'm right in front of you. And they're like, right. we don't know you.
But see, that's hard for guys like me too. Yeah. Like especially like athletes in particular, like, right? Yeah. Like, I feel like, okay, in order to win at something, like, I have to do X, Y, and Z. Like, these are things that I have to do. Yeah. And the better I do them, the more praise I get, the more, makes sense. The higher my grade is after the game. And so it's like a constant battle of like, okay, I have to do these things. I have to bear fruit. Like, right. I want Jesus to say, hey, well done. Right. Like, that's what I want that, right? Yeah. And so the flip side of that
tension a little bit.
Yeah, like how, and that was something I'm even learning now. Yeah. Like, I mean, that's something that just happened this week, even, where I'm just like, okay, I'm learning that if I pursue God from a state of humility of like, okay, I can't bear fruit on my own. Right. Like, please, like, bear fruit through me. Yeah. It's a different mindset, but it's so subtle, right? It's such a subtle difference.
It's a game changer.
It's a game changer, dude.
Yeah.
It's a game changer.
Yeah, well, because one thing that we've been talking about at Walk Church is this idea of Jesus plus, right? Like, I feel like gospel math is Jesus plus nothing equals enough. So we can't add our good deeds or bad deeds to the gospel in some way that we can earn grace or lose grace. Right. It's just Jesus is enough. When he says it's finished, he means it. And so we find our salvation not in our good deeds, but in his good deeds. So why do I say that? Well, because in that, when we have Christ, we have everything we need. We live out of the overflow, right, of being right with God. So that idea of addition comes like, okay, but now I need to actually, and I think I think that's the tension. And I think it's even a good tension.
I think
it's like a good tension, because it's not like cheap grace, easy, right. Like Jesus. I love that verse in Philippians where it's like, live your life worthy of the gospel that saved you. Yes. So there is an essence of like, man, like, I want to put my best foot forward. I want to be used by God, like the parable of the talents, the parable of the seeds.
Active faith, 100%.
Come on, active faith, man. So I love how you're wrestling with that, and I think that's a good wrestle.
Yeah, I do want to tell you a story, just really quick.
Come on.
Just because it's just like...
I need a story.
It's weighing on the back of my... Like, it just happened. It's fresh. Like, I'm still kind of emotionally...
Give us a story right here on the pod. Level up.
Just a quick story. So you gave a sermon on Sunday, and you're talking about, spreading seeds of gospel, going out and talking about Jesus in random conversations. Right. Just be reckless. And I'm like, I'm pumped. Yeah. I hear that, I'm pumped. I tell my wife I'm pumped. This is something I need to do.
I like it. Reckless with your seed throwing.
Reckless with my
For those who are on audio, they're like, wait, be reckless now.
Just be reckless
but with just go for it. In other words, just go for it. Yeah.
Talk about Jesus and everything, right?
Let it fly.
And I'm thinking, okay, well, I don't really have that many random interactions, and so I'm wrestling with this thought. And so fast forward to Monday. It's about 6:30. I'm going out because, it's too hot during the day. I usually go during the day, but it's getting too hot. It's unbearable. Yeah. Do my footwork at the park. I got my shirt off. I'm sweating. It's about 6:30. I'm wrapping up at 7. And these two older gentlemen come up to me. One's shorter. They both got gray in their beards. He kind of has a limp, the shorter guy. The taller guy, he's got glasses and he's Cuban. He comes up, he's like, hey, hey, what's up? You running? Yeah. I was like, yeah, what's up? Yeah. Puts down his keys, the tall gentleman. He puts down his keys and he says, let's race.
Hello.
I said, okay.
Don't play with me.
I was like, let's go. And so, line up next to him. I let him take off about 5-10 yards. And then I track him down.
Had to handle some business.
Had to handle some business. But he tells me after I beat him, just had to let you know I beat him. Yeah. He's like, dude, I couldn't even walk 2 months ago.
Wow.
I had nerve damage, He's telling me all this stuff. I was like, wow. I end up telling him, hey, well, now look, you're racing professional athletes. And, I told him with the Steelers. Well, the shorter Jewish fellow, he comes over.
Amazing.
And he's like, I don't know anything about football. I was like, that's okay. And we're talking about life. He just had an accident himself, got hit by a truck.
Wow.
He was a biker, got hit by a truck. He can't ride anymore. He had a hip replacement, but they walk every day, different parts of the city. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. We're joking for the next 10, 15 minutes about football. Then they leave. It's about 7 o'clock. After they left, it hit me. I was like, dude, that would have been a perfect time to sprinkle some Jesus, to spread the seed. And I just felt this guilt. And I was just like, dude, I should have did it. That was my time.
That was my moment.
It was literally yesterday. I was so pumped. And so I called my wife and she's like, but it's good that you're thinking like that now. And so next time. And I'm just like, I prayed that night. I was like, God, give me another chance.
I love that. Whoa.
Right? So he said, I had this overwhelming feeling, okay, go back there at 7 next day. Right? Now, I don't know where these guys walk. I don't know anything. It was a happenstance that I even saw them there, but I remembered it was 7 o'clock, right? Yep. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go back tomorrow at 7. And we go to Pilates. A lot of Pilates this week.
Shout out.
And I go home, shower. It's 7:22. I'm like, oh crap! I'm late. I gotta get over there. She's like, you're going to the park to see these guys. You don't even know if they're gonna be there.
I'm late, dude. For what might happen?
I got it. They might be there.
But active faith.
I was like, maybe. And so I go, of course they're not there. 7:25, and I'm driving my truck. I'm driving around. I'm looking. Maybe they're somewhere up the street. No, they're not there. And God told me to park. I just felt like, okay, just park. And so I parked. And I get out. Told me to get out. I just feel it, And so he says, walk with me. And so it's a park. It's like a park, and there's a trail that goes along the park and goes off into the mountains. You
felt like the Spirit just...
And I just felt like he just told me to just get out and walk with me.
Just walk with me.
And so I did. And I'm walking in the grass, and I'm praying, and I'm just like, I tell God, I'm like, he told... It's going to sound crazy, but he told me to take a knee, and so I take a knee. And he's like, why did you want to meet these guys again today? Were you just trying to have a cool story?
Wow.
Right? Were you trying to check it off, a list, say you did something? Yeah. And I'm wrestling with this thought back and forth in my head, and I was like, you know what, God, this is what I told him. I was like, I want you to be proud of me, man. Sorry, I'm going to tear up.
Yeah.
But I was just like, I just want you to be proud of me. And he told me, it was like I just felt it. It wasn't like an audible voice, but it was just like, I am proud of you. Yeah. Already.
That's right.
And wow. I was just like, I just wanted to bear some fruit, and I feel like I have so much, and I sin so much. I just thank you. I just want Dang. I just want to bear some fruit. I just want you to say well done. When it's all said and done, I want you to say well done. And I felt like that was a chance I could have had. And so I was, even though the guys weren't there, of course they weren't there. It was cool to have that moment with the Lord. And so I just stood up, and I felt relief. And I'm about to leave at 7:40, and he tells me to wait until 8. I was like, God, I don't know if this ever happens to you, but I'm like, is this just my head?
Right.
Is this just my head saying wait till 8? That's weird.
Sure, I understand.
And I'm telling you, dude, I just felt it in my heart. He said, wait till 8. Not only wait till 8, go stand at this pole on the corner of the grass, face this way. There was, and he told me to face this way. I just felt this.
Some
it's
prophetic
the weirdest
hunch,
thing. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, I'll stand over here. I'll wait till 8. But 8 o'clock, I got to leave. My wife has the girls. It's past their bedtime. Yeah. I got to help with bath time. Yeah. It's crazy I've even been here this long. Right. Now I'm going to stand here for 20 minutes. Okay. But when 8 o'clock comes, I'm out. Yeah. I'm out of here.
Out of here.
He says, they'll be there by 8.
Wow.
And so I'm standing at this field. There's this father and their son playing soccer. And dad's teaching them how to play soccer. And I'm just watching them. watching him play with his son. I was just like, I just felt like God was there with his son today, was just there with me, just hanging out.
Wow.
And I'm watching them play soccer.
Moments, so many good moments, man.
And sure enough, this man walks up to me from behind. He says, so you're a fan of soccer, huh? That's a little Jewish man.
Get out.
With his shirt off, the gray hair. I look down at my clock, it's 7:52.
Whoa.
So I look at him, I'm like, I'm in tears, dude. I'm just like, God.
That is nuts.
I tell him, I said, God told me you'd be here by 8.
You just told him.
I told him, I said, hey,
God
told me you'd be here by 8.
You had to just say, look, bro.
He told me he would be there by 8.
He told you.
He told me that.
Yeah.
And here he is, 7:52, right on time.
Insane.
Dude, I'm telling you, this was an hour after he had walked by here yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't know if he walks here every day. I don't think he does. So anyway, long story short, I walk with this man. I continue the walk. I leave my truck. I'm in sandals. We walk through the desert. I walk with him for 40 minutes. We talk about everything from LSD to baptism. And I shared the gospel with him.
What a seed.
After I listened to what he believes, I shared what I believe.
Yep.
And I think I listened a lot. I listened more. God was telling me, just listen to this man. And at the end of our walk, I walked him home, not all the way home. I wanted to respect his privacy, but it was on the street. And he let me pray with him in the middle of the street, man.
Incredible.
And
this is such a dope story, bro.
Dude, he's from Ukraine. Like, we prayed over Ukraine. Man. Like, it was crazy.
Wow.
And when I tell you, I was more pumped about that than any punt block, any interception. Like,
wow.
I was geeked, dude. Like, I didn't show it to him. I prayed with him, and thank you. That's
but
amazing. I walked with him, right? My feet were all dirty because I had sandals on.
You're Jesus-like.
Right. Wow. That's crazy. But I mean, dude, I was pumped all the way. That 40-minute walk back to my truck, wife's probably like, where you at? But dude, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And
it's amazing.
It was the sequence of events of you saying, hey, share the gospel.
Yeah.
Spread the seeds.
Spread the seeds.
Don't care about if it's polished.
Yeah.
Don't care about how your hair is. You know, if you went to seminary, just do it.
Just do it.
And walk by faith. And I had faith. I had a little bit of faith that day.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
That's amazing, man.
And I was rewarded for it.
And your little bit of faith was more than enough.
By 8 o'clock, like, that's so crazy to me. Like, why?
Dude.
I was standing there for 12 minutes watching them play soccer before he showed up.
This is a level up leadership story because you're listening, you're active, faith, like you could have just not made time for any of that and missed it.
I didn't even tell you the best part. We're walking by the dad and the son. The dad hears me talk about Jesus. He said, hey, amen to that.
Really?
Amen to that.
Get out of here.
Go, Jesus. He said that as we're walking by. I was just like, dude, this is unreal.
This is a wild moment, bro.
This is unreal. I was just like, dude. And I don't tell you this so that, like, you're like, hey, good job, dude.
Right.
Because God told me in that parking lot, like, it's all, like, I don't have to earn his, like, good jobs.
Right.
But, like, to experience faith, like, to experience God telling you something and it comes to pass, is such a crazy feeling.
That's amazing.
That's such a crazy feeling.
Yeah, man. It's fresh. It's encouraging. It's life-giving, and it kind of makes you hungry. Like, I want more of that.
That can happen every single day of our life.
Yeah.
All we have to do is just be conscious of it.
Well, for those listening, I recently preached a sermon on the parable of the seed, the sower, and the soil out of Matthew 13. And one of the things I talked about is how we should all be sowing. Like, sometimes we read this parable and it's just like we read it like, oh, that was for that person. But like, no, we're the sower. Like, we should be sowing seeds. And for the seeds to, some fall on the path, some fall on the, like, who sows seeds on the rocks? You know what I mean? Like, that's just not good sowing. Or then some seeds fell in the thorny ground. Like, most farmers that I'm aware of, they sow the seed, they look for the good soil. But this sower's just throwing it everywhere.
Everywhere.
Which to me shows us we should all be just going for it. Giving God something to grow. By doing that, you might not know what happens with this man. But somebody else could water that seed. It sparked at a park. Your obedience, active faith, and now God, you might meet this cat a few years from now, and he might be like, yo, you don't know what that moment did for me.
Right.
Come on. But you were obedient.
But I was obedient.
And it was enough.
You said something on Sunday that stuck with me. You know, you said, well, we're so quick to pray for people to change or to find the Lord, but then we don't do our part of planting that seed. So like you said, like God needs something to work with. Like they're not just going to hear about Jesus,
I love it.
You know, doing their daily life, whatever they're doing. Like maybe you're the person that needs to just say, hey, look,
on
Jesus.
time, bro.
Like that's so interesting to just see it take place a couple days after the sermon.
What a story. Well, I hope that for those engaging with us right now, that they're encouraged, a little bit challenged, you know, even to live it, you know, to not allow your faith to just be your faith, but to say, hey, God used me. Help me to share my faith. It's so good, man. Hey, one of the things I know that is a cool moment in your story is when you took a trip to Israel.
Yes.
Talk to us about that trip. Bring us into that moment. What were some of the things that the Lord was teaching you on that trip and since?
Sure. So it was my third year in the league, Detroit, and this guy is going around the locker room saying, hey, there's this program. They're going to send some players if you want to Israel. Nice. And I was like, oh, cool. I was like, you know, for free? I said, yeah, they pay for it. I was like, why isn't everyone else signing up for this? You know, like it's crazy. 10-day free trip to Israel. Why not?
Sick. Yeah.
And so I take it, and there were a couple players, one of which would be a future teammate of mine, Tyson Alualu. And yeah, dude, we're there. We're just touring the Holy Land. Dope. And there's some coaches, some ex-coaches, and it's just a group of us, like 12, 15 guys, and we go from Jerusalem all the way, you know, around Tel Aviv. We even go into Gaza for a little bit, and we talk to some Palestinians, and and it was a powerful trip, you know, to see like Bethlehem, and you know, Nazareth, and all of this, and
these sites you read about. Now you're standing in it,
dude. To be on a boat in the Sea of Galilee,
fire.
Like I'm just like, that's insane,
fire.
And it was a real eye-opening coming to Jesus moment for me. Up until that point, I was where we were talking about earlier, where I'm saved, I'm good. Kind of walk. First couple years in the league, and so I ended up getting baptized in the Jordan, you know, with everyone else, you know, with the rest of the guys there, and I was just like, you know what, I want this. You know, I want to be where you are. I want it to be real. And ever since then, man, I was just like on a mission. I'm just on a mission. And I saw Detroit as a mission, and I see Pittsburgh as a mission.
So good, man. Hey, I think maybe you just unlocked something. Like maybe that's the difference from what we're talking about. One thing is like, yeah, I'm saved and like I got my ticket to heaven. Now I'm kind of doing my own thing. The other is, yeah, I'm saved and I'm on mission.
Right.
You know, like I think the difference between like a nominal believer and a disciple is whether or not you're on mission. You know, wherever it is that you're at, like you could be an NFL player or you could be, you name it. Are you on mission? You could be at the park on mission.
On mission.
Bro.
I was there to do footwork.
Sick.
I could have said, nah, I'm not racing you guys.
Yeah, I'm not racing you guys.
Why would I race you? You're 65 years old.
Even just being open to that is dope, man.
And I'm competitive.
Yeah.
First off, you're gonna put your keys down and you're gonna challenge me to a race.
That's tough.
But yeah, man, we're on mission, and you know, tomorrow's not promised.
Yeah.
You know, and
so good. Let me give you just a kind of closing question in the context of level up leadership. I want to talk about your dad. Okay. I want to talk about Coach Tomlin, and then the third one is a fill in the blank for you. Greatest leadership lesson that you've learned from your dad, David Killebrew, awesome leader, man of God. Greatest leadership lesson you've learned from this past few seasons under Coach Tomlin.
Sure. And
then you pick the third one.
Okay. Of greatest lessons of leadership.
Yeah, something you've caught. Like this is a leadership principle I've caught from these three.
Sure. One thing I've learned from my dad, it has less to do with what he says, but more to do with what he does.
So good.
He is a servant leader.
Leader.
I think he embodies that perfectly. He is available He makes himself available. I don't know when he sleeps. I don't think he does.
Wow.
But if you call him and you need something, he's there.
Always ready.
No matter the time. And that's something I try to be like, especially within the confines of my marriage and on my team.
Wow.
You know, if someone needs something, like I'm gonna do my best to serve them and to do it. I'm all in.
Wow.
And that's what I want to be. You know, I want to be someone who's all in. Like, I'm here
Sick.
with you. I'm all in.
I'm all in. You know, let me just say really quick, as I'm hearing you share that, leadership sometimes is caught more than taught.
Yeah.
It's, hey, your leadership can even be something people observe on you. It's like, hey, my dad didn't even have to teach me. He didn't have to tell me be all in.
Mm-hmm.
I learned all in.
Yeah.
You know, that's so good, man.
I don't know how he does it. I mean, every single person he knows, like,
yeah,
feels like he's got their back.
No,
Dude, you can't have everyone's back.
No,
like, how do you do that?
When I'm around DK, I feel that.
You right?
Totally.
You feel like he'll just go to war with
And he's got the joy of the Lord on him.
He does.
You know? It's
He
like
does.
contagious.
It is. It's real contagious. And so
Praise God.
That's something I learned from him, from Coach Tomlin. You know, just switching gears.
Yeah.
Something that he's very adamant about, that he is core to his belief, and something he teaches us, wants to instill in all of his players, is to not seek comfort.
Not seek comfort.
To not seek comfort. That's something that he pushes. You know, the only way is the hard way. You know, the only path is through. That's something that he really emphasizes. You know.
Yeah.
And he breaks that down, you know. It's not make excuses, don't lessen your role, don't pretend to care less, you know, stuff like that. Don't say you care less, stuff like that. And don't complain to people about your problems that can't solve them. Right?
Wow.
You know, if I can't solve your problem, then you shouldn't be complaining to me about it. Right?
Wow.
That's comfort seeking.
That's so good.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And so that's something I've learned from him.
That's so good. Don't, and isn't that what we're kind of prone to do? Like, let me seek comfort, you know, and Tom was saying, actually, that ain't gonna get you far.
It's a natural human condition. Mm-hmm. You know,
there's a place for comfort.
100%.
That's okay. But as a leader, don't seek it out as your main thing. Even, I think I heard a quote recently from Mike Tyson. Shout out to Mike Tyson. He said something about just like his training regime. Regime?
Regimini?
Yeah. Y'all know what the word I'm talking about. Regime?
No, that's something different.
No, not regime. Regimen.
Regimen, yes.
He just talked about like discipline is doing the thing that you hate doing so much that it becomes your thing.
Right.
You know, like the going against your comfort, even like maybe it's like suicides or on the court, or you know, like you be running the hill
right
to that, and you don't want to do that. It's not comfortable to do that. Like, why do people skip leg day? I ain't trying to do leg day.
Not trying to do it, but
like it's a key piece. It could be your Bible. It's like I don't. You know, it's uncomfortable for me to like get out my Bible, read my Bible, journal. Right. But like, what if you start doing that to the point where it's like it becomes a habit? And now you're leveling up,
right?
You know, but I just think kind of going back to that idea of don't seek comfort is like it's a good word. I'm catching something from that.
And I mean, my third one, that's the easy one. I mean, something I've learned from you, you know, not to put you on the spot.
Oh, kind.
Is just how you were saying earlier. Just always be willing to grow.
Yeah.
You know, and that's something I've noticed you, more than you say, have been doing for the last, you know, at least 5 years.
Sure.
That I've seen, you know, you've been constantly seeking wisdom from those who are maybe older or have been through more. You know, you've been seeking knowledge from those who might be, you know, maybe exposed to more wisdom, you know, more stuff. You've been, I don't want to say smarter because I don't know, but it's something that I've seen in your marriage and your pastorship. Like, you have been growing, and it's been fun to watch.
Man,
you know, just
encouraged by that, bro.
Just from, you know, someone who's seen it. You know, it's been fun to watch. So that's something that I also want to do.
Always growing.
I want to grow. I want to keep growing.
That's awesome, man. That means a lot to hear that from you.
Of course.
And I think in this parable collection that we've been leaning in, I was sharing with somebody just recently, just like all the parables have this thing in common, and it implies we should be growing. It's like, that's if you boil these like seeds parables, like what is the kingdom about? it's almost like Jesus is like, the kingdom is about you growing.
Yes.
Not being complacent in this state. Like you could be 30, 60, 100-fold if you keep growing. This mustard seed has a ton of potential if it grows. And so I'm like, man, like, the son, the prodigal son, he has a ton of potential if he comes back,
That word is so scary. Potential. That's a scary word, man. Because so many people rest in their potential like they've already realized it.
Wow.
But, you're only as good as your realized potential.
Wow. Don't throw in the towel too soon. You got more potential. Dude, I love that. Man, this has been a good word. I've learned a lot and encouraged by that word. Even let me give you even an honor shout out to Pastor Vance, who's a friend of ours, pastor in both of our lives.
Oh yeah.
But like I was just talking to him the other day, just like, man, hey, help me think through this. You've been there before, and I think some of that principle from the Proverbs, right, is like I was just reading that in Proverbs 19 today. Just this idea of the wise person seeks understanding, the foolish person turns away from it. But like, what are you seeking?
Right.
Like I'm seeking to grow. I'm about to get better this year. I ain't going backwards. Come on. Like the Lord is taking us to new places. That's the idea of level up.
Right.
Come on. So, man, dope.
Yeah, that was good, man. So I just wanted to encourage you because
I receive it, man. One thing we do as we conclude all these podcasts, whenever we have, somebody who's on that's partaking, in giving some wisdom. We'd love for you to just speak to those watching, listening right now, even look right in this camera and say, hey, here's how you can level up in your leadership this year from Miles Killebrew.
Okay. How's it going, everybody? Let me tell you how you can level up in your leadership this year. I'm Miles Killebrew, most recent special teams captain of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And one thing that I've learned is that you need to figure out what you find most important, whether it be your walk in God, whether it be your career, right, your family, whatever it is. I would encourage it to be bigger than something like work. I would encourage it to be, where you're going to be after you leave this place, like your walk in God. But whatever that is, I want you to hold on to it, and I want you to make sure that everything that you do is going towards leveling up that part of yourself.
Whoa.
And be consistent with it. Because if you are, people will notice it, and you will be so on fire that they will want that in themselves. They want that consistency. They want that drive. They want that focus. But you need to find it from within. You need to look inside and say, okay, this is what I want of myself. And only then will you be able to lead other people to it. So that's what I would say.
Fire. So good. I'm encouraged by that word. I'm like, whoa, I want to go. I'm going to flip this table right now. I'm about to go do something.
How easy is football if I know who I am on a fundamental level?
It's powerful.
Like I got to know what I want.
So good, man.
I have to know, man.
Well, praise God. This has been a dope session today, leveling up in our leadership, our walk with the Lord, active faith, seed, growing, sowing, all that. Thank you for jumping in, watching, listening, wherever you're at today. Consider hitting the subscribe button. Maybe leave a comment or review on how this podcast is encouraging, helping you level up. And check out the Steelers this year. Captain Miles Killebrew. He's going to block a punt. He's going to do something great. Come on. In Jesus' name.
Look, we need to get all the way to the Super Bowl.
Let's get it. Go. Come on. Well, hopefully them Raiders are right there with you. All right, you know what I'm saying? We're going to log off right now. Thank you for joining us. Peace.
Thank you.